Today's book of the week, The Superior Wife Syndrome, Why Women Do Everything So Well and Why for the Sake of Our Marriages We Need to Stop, by Karen Rubenstein. Now listen, I came across this book because the title caught me. And interestingly enough, I read this book after writing one of my books. One of my latest books really deals with women specifically and all of the burdens and the struggles and the obligations and the duties that they have as women. But when I wrote this book, I wasn't necessarily speaking to married women, but just women in general. And what we have found is that single women, single parent mothers, have just an abundance of obligations because of the role they play and because of their relational state of affairs. But what blew my mind is when I read this particular book, because she's only dealing with women from a marital perspective. What she's saying in this book is that women get the burdens of marriage and generally men get the blessings of marriage. Isn't that quite interesting that when it comes to the domestic affairs, even though men are known for being the head of the household, many men, not all, but many do not participate in the day-to-day activities of household affairs. So all of the responsibilities, the obligations are on that woman. And so while a man works a 9-to-5 job, comes home, wants to relax, kick his feet up, just to have some time to recuperate before he deals with all of the pressures of family life, unfortunately, women don't have that privilege. So in essence, they may work from 9 to 5, and as soon as they walk in the door, they now have to enter into their second shift working from 5 to 9 because they're dealing with bills and babies and PTA meetings and extracurricular activities and sports and all of those type of responsibilities. She's cooking, she's cleaning, she's doing so much, and at the end of the day, she's exhausted. And it seems as if her day never ends. And so she enters into the bed completely wiped out, and then sometimes, here it is, 11 o'clock, midnight, the husband comes tapping on her shoulder because he wants to engage in sexual intimacy. And she's done. She's spent. And so the book talks about how to equal the playing field, if you will, by men becoming more engaged in the domestic affairs of the particular relationship. It says, interestingly enough, that the high divorce rate is a result of the proper delegation or the improper delegation of responsibilities within the home. I always ask this question when I go to speak. I said, listen, by show of hands, who do you think initiates marriage, men or women? Most people say, well, men do. And I'm like, well, men pop the question, men get on one knee, men present a ring, but generally women initiate marriage. They initiate the conversation. When are we going to get married? When are we going to settle down? When are we going to start a family? So the topic is initiated by a woman and completed by a man by going through the procedure. But then I ask the question, well, who typically initiates the divorce, men or women? And then they think. Most people say men. The answer is women. 70 to 97% of all divorces are initiated by women. Why? Because they get frustrated. Because this is not what they signed up for. Because all of their expectations are not fulfilled. Because when they were children playing with little dolls and thinking about this wedding day, they were focusing on the day and not the day after. They were preparing to be brides and not wives. No fantasy is attached to being a wife. The fantasy is attached to being the bride because of the dress and the day and the honeymoon and all the benefits and wonders of that particular special day that women spend all of their lives preparing for. But what they did not receive was proper information about the day after. I find it quite interesting that both husbands and wives to be, when you're engaged, we spend about a year preparing for the wedding day and about 3 or 4 hours in sessions preparing for the marriage. No wonder our marriages don't go so well. And so when men have their own definition of manhood and masculinity and what the role of a husband should be in a household, and women have a very different one, when these two perspectives come together in a marriage, they create conflict. Conflict is nothing more than two wills operating in the same place at the same time. And so now there's a tug-of-war struggle between the husband and the wife in terms of what the duties, the responsibilities, the perception of the role should be. And so many people are unclear on what the true role of a husband and the true role of a wife is, and that's why this particular book was created. And it's suggesting that women have played the role of being superior in the home, and men, unfortunately, by their perception, have either been incompetent because they did not know what to do, or played the role of incompetence in order to avoid doing what was necessary in that particular household. So if you are having issues in your household when it comes to the proper management and delegation of responsibilities, when it comes to identifying clear roles, this book does a fantabulous job of really clarifying what those roles should be and how to create equality in the marriage. What this suggests is that when there is balance and equality, women feel so fulfilled, so loved. Sex life skyrockets because she's getting her needs met as well. And oftentimes that's important to a man. So listen, get this book, The Superior Wife Syndrome, Why Women Do Everything So Well and Why for the Sake of Their Marriages They Need to Stop, by Karen Rubenstein. Get your copy today.